I'm here with Jim Davis, who has been good enough to join us to chat about his, well, a deck that, Jim, I understand you've been playing for, I think since I was like in primary school.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but I put the crown down for a little bit. Now we're trying to pick it back up again.
The Goblin King himself is joining us, Jim Davis, on Goblins. A couple of recent reprints, Jim, have put this deck back on the radar.
Yeah, I was really mad that Goblin Ringleader was not in Modern Horizons. And you guys pulled a fast one on me, slipped it into M20.
Thanks,
so,
Paul. Yep.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah.
And yeah, the deck just seems really good. We have almost all the pieces we have in Legacy, or each to have an extended. And then Munitions Expert takes the place of Gem Bomb Incinerator. No Wastelands, no Ports, no Lackey, but those are all kind of Legacy power level cards anyway. So we have almost the whole gang here.
So for those of you who aren't necessarily familiar with what Jim's talking about here, Goblins has been a deck in Magic for a long time. It's a fringe player in Legacy as well. And Jim, again, the king of the mountain here when it comes to Goblins. Let's have a look at what he's working with this weekend. Kicking things off with some classics here. Aether Vial, a classic, a must-have inclusion in any creature deck like this. Skirk Prospector, a surprising inclusion, but with the amount of mana you want to generate and the tokens you're going to have flying around, thanks to cards like Mog War Marshal, these are very much the setup cards for this deck.
Yeah, I think these cards are really, really important. Obviously, Vial's one of the best cards in the deck, but Skirk Prospector doesn't look very good next to Tarmogoyf or Teferi and things like that. So on power level, individually, it's low. But Goblins is a deck where all the pieces are coming together for more than their sum of their parts. So Prospector allows you to get in the board early, it gets your Goblin count going, and then in concert with both Mog War Marshal and Goblin War Chief, you can have some really crazy turns where you're making a bunch of mana, kind of ritualing things out, drawing cards Ringleader, and kind of going off. Also plays very well with Palashik Mons, which we'll see. Yeah,
okay, well, we'll continue to have a look now through the lists, including the payoffs. These are the cards that are really sort of, I guess you could say the top end. These are the heavy hitters, right? We've got Sling Gang Lieutenant, which is a new addition from Modern Horizons. Goblin Pile Driver, a card that never really made it in Standard after being printed in Magic Origins, and another newbie coming in Modern Horizons. Goblins were very well treated by this recent set.
Yeah, I was surprised by the Expert. At first I was playing 2 main and 2 in the board, figuring it would be dead in non-creature matchups, but the ability to hit Planeswalkers is huge. It's basically in every matchup as a target. Against Tron, you hit Karn. Against Blue Eye Control, you hit Jace. So I quickly went to 4 and never turned back. The card's very, very good.
Do you want to talk about Lieutenant as well? Because this is another, like traditionally we'd see like Siege Gang Commander in this slot here, but the Sling Gang Lieutenant is another way that you can get basically kind of break through a stored board or beat something like an Ensnaring Bridge.
Yeah, this card is really, really good. I started with 1 Sling Gang, 1 Siege Gang, having played Siege Gang for years, obviously, and Sling Gang just overperformed. The ability to close the game out, your opponent's life total was X and your creature total was X, you win the game. And then honestly, the life gain is actually really relevant. People understand that Goblins is more of like a board control deck. It's not an aggro deck. And your goal is to kind of block, stay alive, because your card advantage engine is so good.
Yeah.
You just draw so many cards. So the ability against a deck like Humans, say they have a Mantis Rider and they're trying to check you with it, you can gain a life or 2 here and there and buy that extra turn, and that's just absolutely huge.
So, enough, that's right.
So it's reach on the offensive side as well as defensively.
I think it's a really great inclusion, and these are the sort of the big exciting cards you're going to see win games, I guess, more obviously, but we've got some workhorse cards that we need to talk about. These are very much the engine cards. We can have a look at what's going on with, we talked about the new exciting cards. These are older than time itself. Goblin Matron and Goblin Ringleader have been winning games for people like you for donkey's years, and now they're getting it done in Modern.
Yeah, you should see my versions of the cards. They're basically about to disintegrate.
Busted up, yeah.
But yeah, this is the deck right here. Goblin Ringleader is everything. The ability to find it consistently with Matron, and then of course Ringleader flips over, another Ringleader or a Matron, and the card advantage is better than probably almost every deck in the format.
The rich get richer.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then War Chief is the catalyst as well, because these cards are a little expensive. A 4 mana 2/2, 3 mana 1/1, not necessarily on Modern's power scale, but when they're cheaper and they have haste and they're creating such a snowballing effect, you just gotta go nuts. It's awesome.
As someone who's literally played 0 games with Goblins in his entire life, I can see immediately combining cards like card advantage engines like Goblin Ringleader with something like Skirk Prospector. That's when you can really get a stew going.
Yeah, it's funny because, like I said, people think of Goblins as an aggro deck. It's more of like a control combo deck where this is Fact or Fiction. You're destroying a bunch of cards.
Yeah.
This is Demonic Tutor. And then the Prospector is making mana too, so you're doing all the broken things in Magic. You're making mana and drawing cards, which is what all good decks do, basically.
That's what everyone should
right.
do.
And then honestly, the pile drivers and the winning is almost secondary. You kind of find your way to win once you've drawn a fistful of cards.
This is the deck.
Exactly.
Let's have a look very quickly to close things out at what Goblin Matron can search up here. Here are the sort of spicy one-ofs there. Knucklebone Witch, an early threat. Goblin Crater Maker, an answer to artifacts as well as huge big colorless threats. Tarfire, a removal spell you can search up with Goblin. It is with Goblin Matron. It is a Goblin. But Pashalik Mons, another new piece of technology, Jim.
Yeah, this card's really, really good. One of the cards we don't have access to is Goblin Sharpshooter. That's one of the classic cards in these decks. And fills a similar role in picking up small creatures, can kill your opponent. Again, if you have a Prospector out, you can really do some work with that. The secondary sacrifice effect is not huge, but is relevant at times. But basically just a really, really good card because you're doing all of your engine stuff anyway. Stacking things to Prospector, things are dying, and it gives you a big advantage for that. And then against decks that have creatures in them, you can just machine gun stuff down really well. So very good card.
We've got the mana base to get across very quickly. We can have a look at the lands here, and a couple of lands that are providing useful utility. Well, you've basically got a bad land,
basically, yeah.
Which is in Auntie's Hovel. But Cavern of Souls against counterspells, Field of Ruins against things like Tron. This is setting you up against a broad proportion of modern to have a good amount of success just with the mana base.
Yeah, Field's very good. A lot of extra value, of course, against Tron and stuff. And I think that I'm playing 23 lands. All of us that I was seeing online were playing like 20 or 21. It's way too low. You know, our cards cost 3 and 4. We need to actually play our lands and draw and cast our spells. So I think skipping is a real risk.
All right, let's have a look at the final lands here. Snow-covered mountains. I love to see snow-covered lands in decks with no snow synergies. It's the way you should be playing as well. They're like this. But, you know, unsurprising to see pretty standard stuff with fetches and basics like that sort of stuff. No surprises.
Yeah. Mana base is relatively painless, which is good. You know, a few fetches, 2 blood crypts, and mostly pain-free lands, which is very good.
Very good. Excellent. Well, look, I'm not the only one who's hoping that Goblins going to make a deep run here at Mythic Championship Barcelona. Jim, thanks so much for joining us, and best of luck throughout the weekend.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much. That's it from us.